I'm going to talk about testing web accessibility and how to find accessibility vulnerabilities in your website. So again, a bit more of myself. I'm from Madrid, from Spain. I'm the team lead of the web team, the company that I'm working for, and as well as a front-end developer. And I'm a huge accessibility advocate. And you can find me almost everywhere under my surname. So accessibility. I always get the question on what is this I11Y that everyone is always seeing. So this is the international acronym for accessibility because there's 11 letters between the I and the Y in the word accessibility. So I'm gonna use this a lot from now on. So why is so obvious in the real world that these 4 situations are completely wrong? So the first 2 pictures, there is a very high ramp. In the second and the third one, there is a stairs at the end of the ramp. And in the fourth one, there is a totally unusable ramp for people with wheelchair. Or maybe a different example. Someone arrives in a wheelchair and they press the accessibility button. The door opens automatically, but surprise, there is stairs. So why is this so obvious in the real world, but it's not that obvious in the online world? So let me give you an example. Maybe you go into a e-commerce shop or like a online shop, and you want to know your latest purchases. So you call the customer support, and then they can tell you something like, oh, you need to click in the button in the top right corner. Or maybe you want to change your email address. So maybe they will tell you, you need to click in the button with the engine icon. But for blind people, there's no such as button who looks like an engine, or there's no top right corner because they don't use a mouse. They cannot see the icons. So we need to have this in mind when we develop our applications. Let me give you some numbers. 2 years ago, we were around 7.6 billion people in the world, and more than 1 billion people live with some form of visual impairment. So when you develop your application, your e-commerce, your online business, those people are your audience as well. So we need to take care of them as well. I'm not gonna talk about how to develop web accessibility. I have a different talk called The Website Sound Like. You can take a look. But today I'm gonna talk about testing web accessibility. So automated tests can free up your testing team, your QA team, for manual test every single part of your application. But it's not magic. They cannot automatically make your site accessible. We cannot forget that only 20 to 50% of the accessibility issues can automatically be detected. So that's why those automated tests has to be part of a larger testing process. So manual tests and automated tests are equally important. So I've created a simple application in React with 3 tiny components. The first one is a button, a proper button. The second one is a fake button, which is an anchor link with the role button. Sneak peek, never do that. And the third one is an image. And in the entry point of the application, I've put a lot of errors, a lot of vulnerabilities for accessibility. So let's see how can we find those errors. I divided the talk in 3 parts because those are the 3 parts that I normally use when I test. The first one, with probably the one that I use more, is testing while I code, while I develop. The second one would be testing the whole DOM as a structure. Maybe you inherit a code base, or maybe you think you're done. And the third one, as we said before, it's going to be manual test. So let's see how can we test during the development process. So how can we test the code? Since I'm using a React application, Deque Labs created the wonderful Axe tools family. And they have a library for React. So let me start with this one. You have to install it as a developer dependency in your application. Then you need to call the exported function, but you need to make sure that you only do it when you are in an environment that is not production, so only in the development production, because if not, then you will expose this to your audience. And then you can require the Axe engine, and then you can call the function with the React DOM. What is this library doing? When you execute the application in the browser, in this case, I'm using Google Chrome, under the developer tools in the console, you can see all the issues that you are having with accessibility. So you can see here what is the error. So where in your HTML, which element is provoking this violation. As well, you can see the severity level of each violation. And if you have several violations of the same type, they will be grouped. And as well, you can find the direct link to Deque University, which is a website the Deque Lab has as a documentation on how to fix those issues and learn more about accessibility. So you can use this in runtime, so you can change your code accordingly. What else? Linters. So if we use ES, which pretty much is JavaScript, or TS linter, as we saw in the previous talk, you can use a plugin for your linter to highlight the accessibility issues that you're having in your code and directly in the code editor. So what you have to do is to add the plugin to your ESLint RC.json file, which is the config file where all the rules are taken from. In line number 12, we have extends the plugin with the recommended rules. And with this line, you would automatically be safe that you have all the recommended rules. I prefer to specify my own rules one by one, sometimes one by one, and then added some configs, but it would be enough with line number 12. And as you can see, you can, in the code editor, you have this wavy underline, red underline under the line that has any violation. You can hover it with your mouse and you will see highlighted what is the problem here. And as well, when you execute the application with npm run or yarn run, depending on the package you're using, you can see those issues as well in the terminal. And the third tool that I want to show you, probably my favorite, is Jest. Jest is a JavaScript library to create unit tests, mainly unit tests. I think you can use it for end-to-end tests, but mainly I use it for unit tests. And they have a Axe extension or Axe library. So you install it as a developer dependency, as the previous ones, and you can write your own unit test. What I'm doing in this small test is importing the whole app. And then I am using the React DOM server to render the whole application as a string. And with this one, I can throw it to the Axe engine. And of course, I expect not to have violations. So in the terminal, when I use again npm run tests, then I can see the tests running. And as the React Axe, I will see what is the error, where in my HTML, which element is provoking the issue, and there are direct link on the documentation that Deque provides on the Deque University. So those are the three tools that I use mainly for during my development process. But sometimes you may think that you are done, which is a very tricky statement. Or maybe you arrive new to a new job and then you inherit a code base and they told you that they never ever done anything for accessibility. So you need to test the whole thing at once. So probably you can test the whole DOM at the same time. So Axe, again, same family, they collapse, create a CLI in the terminal, and you can automate it or include it into your build pipeline or your deployment CI/CD to stop deployments, to stop putting code in production with accessibility issues. So what you have to do in this time, you need to install it globally in your machine. And you have to use it under the terminal. You can put Axe and the URL that you want to test. In this case, I'm testing Stack Overflow. And what it's doing is running a Chrome headless, so an instance of Chrome, but without the real instance. And you can see, again, pretty much the same as every Axe tool. What is the error? Where is in the DOM structure? And as well, the link to the documentation on how to solve this issue. A very similar tool is PA11Y. Again, you need to install it globally in your machine. Same use as the Axe CLI. So you put PA11Y followed by the URL that you want to test. And as well, it's running a headless browser and is performance and test. In this case, again, it's giving you what is the error, a bit more detail. So what is the exact WCAG principle that you are violating, the whole DOM structure and the specific item on your HTML. Of course, they don't have a direct link to the documentation. Now it's up to you to do your homework and Google how to fix those issues, which you should always do. And as well, you can run PA11Y over your local host, so you don't need to deploy to any developer, dev environment. The good thing as well from this library is they have a CI. So maybe you can think that I have a lot of URLs to test and I don't want to go one by one. So you can create a JSON file with a config. So in this case, I'm having an array of 3 URLs to test. The first one is a plain path. The second one, I'm giving a timeout of 50 seconds, huge, by the way. And I'm taking a screen capture. And the third one, which I think is the funny part here, is that I can perform actions on the website. So I can potentially wait for an element with a class or an ID to be loaded, or I can take screen captures and navigate to a different one and take a screenshot. So I just need to go to the root folder of my project, and I just need to run PA11Y-CI, and then it will take this JSON and it will perform the 3 URLs that I have. In this case, the first one and the second one pretty quick. The third one, of course, is going to take some time because it needs to navigate to the other website, but it's going to be the same result. It's going to show what is the errors and how can I find out in Google what do I have to fix. And as well in the root folder of my application, then I can see the captures that I'm taking. So probably you can use them for reporting purposes. As well, Lighthouse is in a library which is developed by Google, and it is included in the Google Chrome developer tools. But as well, you can use it from their terminal. So you can install it globally in your machine, and you can use it the same as the other ones, Lighthouse and the URL that you want to test. But in this case, I'm using the flag --view. So at the end of the tests, I want them to display this report. In this case, it's not going to run a headless Chrome, but a full instance of the Chrome browser. So you can see all the tests that's gonna do. I mean, performance test, low internet test, no internet test, CSS, accessibility, a lot of things. And it's going to create the usual audit report that Lighthouse normally do, normally does. And if you click in accessibility, you can have pretty much the same. So what is the error and where is in your HTML, and a bit more information about how to solve this error. So those are the three tools that I normally use in my build pipeline to automate tests and break the CI and CD to avoid putting code in production with accessibility issues. I think I already mentioned the main feature, again, only for me, so personal opinion about what is the main feature of every tool. As I said at the beginning, only 20 to 50% of the accessibility issues can be found using automate tests. So you need to use manual tests as well. So normally for manual test, I use some extensions in the browser. Again, in my case, I'm using Google Chrome, but I'm sure that those extensions are more, that most of the extensions are as well available in Firefox, for example. So again, back to Decre, back to the Axe family, we have the Chrome extension for Axe, and then you can find them under the developer tools in your browser. You can perform a analysis, and it's going to analyze the whole website, and pretty much the same. Is going to tell you what and where is the error, and a bit more information about how to solve it in this case. And under the Learn More link, you can go directly to the Decre University documentation. Pretty similar Chrome extension is ARC Toolkit as well. You can find them under the developer tools. You can perform a test, and you can see the different sections. So in this case, I'm clicking in images, so I can see what is the warnings and what are the errors. If I click in the image, I go directly to the HTML, and as well, they will be highlighted in the window. So I can see, in this case, for example, what images doesn't have any alt property, which, by the way, they will always have to have. So they have to have alt property. Accessibility insights. In this case, I'm showing you one example of the many tests that you can perform with this Chrome extension, and is the tab order. So tab order is really important to follow the, it needs to be consistent with the content of your website, because some visually impaired people use mainly the tab key to navigate through a website. They don't use a mouse. Other people obviously use a special keyboard. But if they're using a tab key to navigate, the tab order needs to be consistent with the content of your website. So with this extension, what you can do is to create a map of all those tabs. So you keep tabbing, and it will automatically be creating this map for you. So you can maybe take a screenshot out of it and use it for performance purposes, reporting purposes, or maybe you can automate it with any UI visual regression tests. So this is pretty important as well for the consistency of the content. Another extension is Wave, and I think this is the most complete one for me. And in the moment that you click, it's going to perform the test already. And then it's going to show you some of the errors that you're having, maybe the alt text again. You can see the whole structure of heading, so H1, H2, H3 for SEO purposes as well. You can see the contrast, AA, AAA passes or not. You can deactivate the whole styling. So again, consistency of the content of your HTML DOM. You can inspect the code of the whole page. So you can, if you want to give a deeper look to the code, you can do this. So I think it's a pretty complete one. and it has a lot of things included. And the last one is not something that performs and test, but it's sometimes really beneficial to put yourself in the shoes of visually impaired people. So this extension is a simulator of how people will see your website, maybe a little bit blurry because maybe they don't have the glasses with them, or maybe the whole contract or the glare is gone. So they will see it completely darker. So it will give you an idea of how you use colors, how you use text sizes, or maybe colorblind people, protanopia, or directly no color. So you can get a good look of how they will see your website as well. Yeah, glaucoma or side vision. Maybe some people has floaters, and you can take the size of the floater. So you can put yourself in this in the skin of those people. So those are mainly the tools that I use to test accessibility in my development process. The application that I've used to show you how I use it is under my GitHub account. The slides of this and any other talk that I gave is under speakerdeck.com. And if you don't like to either watch the video or see the slides again, I wrote 3 articles about the 3 parts of testing accessibility in my blog, so you can read it about it. I really recommend you to give a look to the Introduction to Web Accessibility course in edX. It is officially created by the W3C, so I think is a very nice starting point for everyone, not only for tech people. And I would love to leave with a couple of things. The first one is a sentence that I always repeat, which says it's not just about disabled users being able to access your website. It's about everyone being able to access your website, because you never know when you are going to be situational disabled. You forgot your glasses at home, you broke the screen of your laptop and you need to buy flights. You don't have your mouse with you, you have your kid in one hand, and then you need to use the website with only the tab key to navigate. So you never know when someone is fully visually impaired or situational. So why to skip those people? So I think it would be nice if we have this in mind when we develop, to talk about everyone and not only disabled users, because accessibility is not a feature. It's never been and will never be. Being disabled is not an option. No one chose that. So I think we should treat accessibility as a part of our development process, the same as we do with UX review, the same as we do with unit tests, the same as we do with specification. So it needs to be part of our daily process. And moreover, it needs to be the responsibility of the whole team, and not only the developers or the designers, but the PM, the CPO, the CTO, anyone in the team, the testers, the UX researcher, anyone. Is our responsibility to create accessible websites. So that's pretty much.